All right, so we start out with a story. All good teaching comes down to storytelling. So my story is the journey into the flipped classroom. I have a couple of slides to show here. And this is from FETC in Orlando this past year. So ignore that part of it there because I didn't update the slide. And what we have is, it comes down to jury duty. So take us back about 3-4 years ago. I was called for the first time in my life to serve in Erie County as a juror, but not the regular jury duty, grand jury duty. Has anyone ever had to do that?
No, I didn't. I got called for it, but I didn't have to.
Grand jury duty means it's a month-long commitment, and you see many different cases. You're deciding if they should go to a jury or not, and it's 3 to 4 times per week, and sometimes it's different days within the week. So now if you're a classroom teacher, and this is springtime, and it's kind of around assessment time, and you're trying to, final haul to get all the projects done, this is not the time of year that I want to be out of the classroom. It's a very inconvenient time for that. So by that very nature, it led me to think, well, how can I record myself so that I could listen to me and watch me do stuff on the screen, teach them spreadsheets, and teach them budgeting, and teach them research online without having to rely on the sub in the room, because it might be a different sub all the time. So I thought, well, if I could take a camcorder and put it on a tripod and put it over my shoulder and put it at an angle so it got the screen and got the keyboard together, and it got too technical, and the quality of that would not look that good. So I did the research and I looked for software that records your screen, which actually is what I'm using right now to record this presentation. And I came across a couple of different products. The one I've settled on now over a couple of years of trying a bunch of them is ScreenFlow. And ScreenFlow runs, unfortunately right now, only on a Mac. So those districts that are Windows, including ours, there's other options such as Snagit and Camtasia for Windows. That works on Windows. But my preference, since I like to use the hardware using a Mac, is using ScreenFlow, and I can record the screen. It's also recording using my webcam right now, my image, so I can be in the corner of the screen as I teach. It'll record all my mouse movements and every keyboard stroke and all that. So really, it's like teaching without an audience there so that kids can then watch it and consume it. So that's really where it started for me. And then more popular are the iPad devices, which have a touchscreen with built-in mic, and the camera's built in, so this almost becomes even easier to make screencasts. So the focus of today is using iPads to make screencasts, but I just want you to know it can also be done, and has been done for many years, on traditional laptops and desktop computers. So that's a little history of where it started with me. The company that makes the Camtasia and Snagit product, it's called TechSmith, they realized what I was doing, and they thought, well, this is a pretty unique story, and many teachers like to kind of hear the background of why someone got into making screencasts, not just because they like technology or they're very technical, but what's the practical application, so they can make a little video case study about it. So let's see if I can show that video for you here. And you might recognize some of the Buffalo people, some of the landmarks in here. I'm Rob Zdrojewski. I'm a middle school technology teacher at Amherst Middle School. Right now it's approximately 8:20 in the morning, and in about a half hour the students will be coming into school like a regular routine day.
Mr. Z has been doing jury duty for the past week or so.
And he's been giving us videos through Edmodo to tell us our assignments.
Since he's been gone, we've had a lot of subs, but we still were able to watch the videos, so it's just like he was still in class.
I did it with Snagit. Snagit is a great little tool. I can record whatever's on my screen, including my webcam. So I put in a little corner of the screen myself. So I think it gives like that human element when you can see the person talking to you and not just hear the voice.
Mr. Z's class is really cool, actually. I love it.
I like how we get to use phones and computers in Mr. Z's class.
We were taught how to use Google Docs on the computer, and we had to create a survey.
Well, at the beginning, we had to use Evernote to find all the items we wanted, and then we implanted all those items and their prices into Google spreadsheet.
I went to Edmodo and I found out Monday's assignments, because it said Monday's assignments and the date.
And then using that, we, as you can see here, we made a survey to see what people said would be better.
This is my survey, actually, that I offered everybody, which it's got different questions on it, and right here I'm explaining how you can create all the different questions and stuff like that. So.
Well, in the past, without using screencasting, I come back in the next day looking at those plans, and you don't know what you're going to get. In some cases, it's, we tried working on this, but we had trouble, so the kids used it as a study hall.
We're using our work time to hand in our assignments and do the assignments that he's given us.
I thought it was really fun. It's much better than like writing an essay on it.
I'm Rob Zdrojewski. I'm a teacher, a father, and a juror, and I'm still teaching my students even though I'm out on jury duty, thanks to screencasting. And I still haven't lived down the fact my wife says I never said I'm a husband in that video.
Oh.
So it's funny, if you watch any of these other customer stories from TechSmith and it's a guy talking, he will always say I'm a husband, a father. He'll add that because that's the Rob Z mistake. So the other guys after me have learned from my mistake not to do that. So I still haven't lived that one down yet. So that's my little story of how I got involved with screencasting. And then it comes to this. Is this a typical classroom? I remember when I was in high school in the mid to late 1990s. I was class of 97 at Iroquois. And I remember that's what a classroom looked like in secondary school, middle and high school. And I think nowadays, today, when I go in the classroom, many of them still look like that. And if you go back in time and take a time machine, you know, it's still kind of the same thing. Everybody's in a row. And this is, by the way, the original one-to-one. This is a one-to-one device right here, too. We talk about one-to-one devices. But it's the one person, the one central figure, the teacher, that has all the knowledge, imparting it on the students that are sitting in rows. And really, I like sarcastically, someone said once, the reason why this works in classrooms is it's easier for the custodial staff to get the brooms through the aisles there.
Well,
and
check
really,
out where we are right now.
And,
I mean, how convenient.
exactly, too. All right, so a classroom that's more, I guess you would say project-based, might look something like this is where I lived for 14 years at Amherst Middle. Around the perimeter are the desktop computers, but that's not where we spent most of the class. We always started and finished the class in the middle area at the tables. So it was done in a collaborative way so that I could have groups of students working together. I never taught in a classroom since 2001 when I started teaching with desks and rows, and I prefer it that way. I like it this way because now it's flexible. I could do whole class instruction, like direct instruction like I'm doing now, but majority of the time they can work together, they can work on the computers, they'd be in a TV studio off to the side, they'd be out and about in the hallways filming footage for their documentaries, and just a lot of stuff happening, and never always the same way. Students were able to pick what path they were going to take. And my management of being able to make sure everyone's getting value out of the class was using technology tools. Using Edmodo especially as my learning platform. That's where the new content goes. That's where you find the screencasts. That's where you take your quizzes. All that was kind of in a central place there. And to help make that possible was my direct instruction was no longer live lecture, but it was done in screencasting, which is the purpose of today's workshop, how to make those screencasts of yourself. So let's go back to here. So flipped learning, this is a real long definition. How many people have seen this definition before? All right, this would be considered the official definition from the Flipped Learning Network. Pieces to highlight here would be that it's a pedagogical approach. The direct instructions moving from the group space like this to the individual learning space. And the result is that we transform it into a dynamic, interactive learning environment, meaning everyone's doing their own thing, but they're still getting value out of class. The educator is now guiding students as they apply the concepts and engage creatively. So now the teacher is no longer in front of the class lecturing because that part's taken care of already. The teacher put themselves or found somebody else's video, made it available to the kids to watch and consume the new information that way. That's putting the kids in the driver's seat, and now they have the ability to pause, rewind, and fast forward the teacher. In a traditional classroom, you can't. You got to teach to the middle of the spectrum, and if a kid doesn't get something, they could raise their hand and ask, could you repeat it again? But they might not be willing to do that. Or those that do so, those that are farther ahead are like, you know, oh, they got to repeat again for him, we got to repeat again for her, come on, we can move on, I got this, so we can move on. And now they're in lockstep. So many years, so many centuries, it's been done that way, so it's hard for us to think outside of that idea, especially if that's what we experienced as we went through education. But flipped learning can be possible now thanks to having the technology tools around us.
And for the special education teachers in the classroom, you know that you have to teach to so many different kids on so many levels. You have different age levels, group levels, ability levels, and this is the nice piece. Like you said, the pacing gets slowed down. They can take it at their own time level. If somebody's out for extended absence, they're still able to access the direct instruction. Means you can never create that wheel again. Always having those students miss out on those little gaps. One of the things that Rob and I have both talked about through our career, and yes, we both have our administrative degrees, but the administrators sometimes have a difficult time with this concept because they're so used to the direct instruction model. So with my layoff situation, I've been in 5 different districts in the past 12 years. So between the two of us and our experience, we've had administrators who will say, well, how are you selecting students? And you're not calling on everybody at the same time. Why don't you use popsicle sticks to call on them?
Yes.
And this example was.
I was told that by.
I wasn't going to be able to say it was you.
I'm not going to, yeah.
No, zip it.
Oh, okay, you're saying
Just zip it.
I think I'm recording this, and I don't know who watches it online, so I'll be careful what I say, but
I'm just
it has
saying
been
in
said in the
general,
past.
that is such a former way of thinking because exposure to technology is new for us, whereas the students who are learning, they're natives. And they know, and sometimes they have more technological skills than half the teachers and people that they're working with. So we sometimes view this as being afraid. So explaining to the people we're working with, you here are at the presentation, the conference day, because you want to know more. The people who don't want to know more don't come, and those are the ones who fear it. So as you are here being trained today, you need to help disseminate that and show other people how successful it can be.
And the APPR piece doesn't exactly help with that, because we had to use the effective classroom teacher framework, the
Charlie Danielson.
no, not Danielson.
Marzano?
Which was the one we had? Ours was Harvey Silver, that one. We had to use that. So I was always told, well, which dimension are you teaching in? Well, I don't know. Those kids are doing 4, and those are doing 5, and those are no, Rob. Which one are you doing? I have to evaluate you on that. I said, well, can you evaluate me on the flipped learning rubric? No, we can't do that. New York State didn't approve that. We have to do it. So I have to be a round peg fitting in a square hole kind of situation. They're like, yep, that's what you have to do.
But wink, wink, now he's the administrator, so let's see
So,
how that goes.
and in our district, we have the Danielson model, I believe, right? Yeah, so that should allow for a little bit more flexibility because in this situation, not everybody's doing the same thing at the same time at the same way. It's just different. Everyone's being accounted for. They have to be accountable for the way they go in a project or a completion of an assignment, but they might not be at the exact same moment every time of the day, and that's the advantage. That's what you want. So to go from the left here to the right, this still happens. The live lecture happens, but maybe not for 40 minutes of that 40-minute class period. Maybe for 5 minutes of it, or the last 3 minutes of it. The majority of the time, the students are working like they would in the real world, with fellow colleagues, coming up with ideas, troubleshooting when things go wrong, which they should, so they can learn those problem-solving skills. So in this case on the right, the students are in the driver's seat, whereas the teacher's in the driver's seat. We call that active learning because they have to actually do something and they have to be held accountable because they have to make something or post something or turn something in. And then John Bergman, one of the, they call him one of the founding fathers of flipped learning, says this all the time: what's the best use of my face-to-face time? For me, when I was teaching Pythagorean theorem, because we're doing Lego robotics and we were using floor tiles like this, and they had to figure out what's that diagonal distance on there. I know that distance and I know that distance, and that's A and that's B, and then the hypotenuse is C. When I was teaching that, yeah, I could have stood live in front of the class and taught them all that, or I could make a video of it, which I think I have today to show you, where they could watch that video and then rewatch it if need be, and then they could bring to me the results, and I could look at it and, oh, you got it right, you're good, move on. Or no, you better go back and watch that video again. I think you got the A piece wrong. So it was a way for me to digitally replicate myself, so it was like having 20-some teaching assistants in the room when it was just me. So from a financial standpoint, too, that's helpful. And I'm not saying we want to eliminate, I should be careful with that. We don't want to eliminate teacher aides, but it's a way to take the teacher and multiply him or herself many times over. So if we say the best use of your face-to-face time is working with kids face-to-face and not lecturing to them, that's where we can outsource ourselves to ourselves by making videos instead. So I think that was the last slide on that one. We'll close out of that.
Rob, don't you think too that it helps the special ed population?
Absolutely.
I see it as transforming that part of school because there's so many kids that are in that special ed classification that feel very emotional problems with being the person that's in the classroom that's getting the special help, the special teacher.
Sure.
And this kind of eliminates that because you can talk to them individually through digital means and none of their classmates have to know.
Not even just the differentiation part, but the social aspect of it is such a big piece. If you're looking at students who, you know, their peers know, especially by like when you're in middle school, you know students who have difficulties. In the video that Rob posts, every time that speech impediment kid, I just want to grab it because I'm going to say, okay, well look at the difference. He had confidence in himself. He worked at his own pace. He wasn't noticeably behind other students because any student can be in any position on a project at a given time. So the pacing is huge, and Rob is able to modify the work if there is a student who cannot complete every single step. So when you have a consultant teacher model coming into your classroom, yes, they know the content and curriculum they're there to modify. Well, this is being modified right away for them. so that Rob doesn't have to explain, okay, well, this is what we're going to teach to them. Because you know, as a special ed teacher and any related service combined person, you need to know what's being worked on in the classroom. So to be able to carry that over, to provide the structure and the feedback, well, this is an easy way to do it because we're not all technology teachers. We're not all math teachers. So this is an easy way to be on the same page communication-wise.
And speaking of the same page, if you're using a tool like Edmodo, I could have another teacher that's a special ed teacher be a co-teacher. So we both are able to monitor what students are posting, grade assignments and whatnot, and this serves as our means of getting all of the information in one spot. And if I need to give one student more assignments or less, I can do that within Edmodo, and the other kids don't know the difference. So it's really done individually. There's even tools within here, and this would be another presentation, but called Snapshot, which I think is on the side here, where it is tied to ELA and Math Common Core standards. So I could say, let's make a snapshot on ELA standard 7.1. It'll generate 4 random questions. Kids take it in a matter of seconds, and then it will benchmark if they are proficient, borderline, or not proficient. Those that are not proficient, it'll give some suggestions. Hey, they're having trouble on fractions. Why don't you try this game, this game, this game? And you can assign certain games to those kids. The other kids, they don't know it. So they might be thinking, oh, I got this because it's fun, but I got this because it's remediation. They don't necessarily know the difference. So it really does a great job. This is one feature of Edmodo Snapshot where you can create some customized tools. They even have it now where, let's say you're working on vocabulary terms. You can put your vocabulary terms in and then choose from a whole host of online games. So it could be, top the ice cream cones to the top of the mountain, something like that. But the content is your words or your fractions or whatever your content is. And I forget what they call that, but that was another great way to build games, essentially build an app with your specific content. You just dump in your list and it gives you options on what you can use for games.
And you're helping to prepare the students for when they're doing STAR assessments or any of those other computer-based ones that don't actually modify. If you're familiar with the STAR assessments, there's a student who could have a benchmark above the grade level and never meet it because they've exceeded it, but yet you need to exceed it by 3 other grade levels because they're so strong. So this actually diversifies it a little bit more, so it's really specific to that kiddo. None of our schools have the gifted and talented program anymore, and a lot of these assessments don't take that into consideration when they're looking at those benchmarks.
So now to some initial resources to explore. My list is here, so you can click on them after this workshop. But those that like to read books, I would recommend that one. I use that in my EDT 504 course at Canisius as required reading, and the students at the end always tell me in the survey they're glad that they read that book because it's a book about stories, about different curricular areas, about how they flipped. One that comes to mind is the phys ed class. Because people say, how are you going to flip phys ed class? Don't you think it's got to be in class to do stuff? And their idea is, well, they can learn the rules of the game outside of class, so when they show up, they get to do the fun stuff. Not listen to the teacher talk for 15 minutes about, you do this here, you go here, you do that, because they come to class already prepared. So in any curricular area, K through 12, flipped learning is possible, and that's a great book that shows you actual stories from real practitioners. The website is listed there. Those that like to listen to audio podcasts, I know I do on the long commute now especially now that I have compared to before. 32 minutes from 2 minutes, yeah, because I lived around the corner from my last school. But you can listen, John Bergman, he's, as I said, one of the founders of Flipped Classroom. His episodes are never more than 8 to 10 minutes long. So
he was science, right?
He was a science teacher, yes, chemistry teacher. Yep.
We've seen him several times present at the Florida Educational Technology Conference.
Yep.
That one is awesome to go to if you ever have the opportunity, because the people who come to that are just phenomenal. And for example, you couldn't even stand in his room to watch this conference.
Yeah. Yep.
But think about science and the hands-on practicality you have to do for chemistry and those other components. They found a way that it just wasn't working with their scheduling because they both had completely full classes of students. So some students were missing out on X, Y, and Z because they were being pulled out for something else, and that's where sort of they came together with this idea.
So more videos there. Our Flipped Learning 4 Pillars document, and then a couple of articles that we were published in with our uses of flipped learning. So I'll skip over all those now. Go right to the accessories.
There's no 4 pillars, though.
All right,
Just real quick.
it's a PDF. This is what I was asking if I could be graded on this for APPR instead of the district's one, because there are 4 different pillars, if you will: the setup of your environment, the culture that you've established, what you're intending to do with your content, and you as a growth professional educator. And I was saying, can I use these instead of our Harvey Silver APPR rubric? They said, no, we can't. New York State doesn't let us do that. But this would fit for those teachers that are using flipped learning as part of their instruction. So that's a good reference document to look at also.
And for educators who are starting out in their first years of working, that's a good self-assessment of where you need to go from your benchmark placements. Because I know that tenure is now changing. So if you get hired as of July 1st this year, you're onto a 4-year tenure.
That's right.
So as things change, the state will progressively want more self-assessment and feedback, and that's a good one to use.
So I looked at, was anyone in my last session this morning? All right, there's a little bit of overlap here, but these are those good, better, and best when it comes to microphones. When you're recording with these devices, they have unidirectional mics. So if you're not within arm's length away, once I go beyond this, especially if the room is noisy, the mic is not going to pick up your voice very clearly. And if you're relying on your students to get that instruction through listening to and watching videos, you kind of want to make sure that voice is really well heard and they're not struggling to hear it. Just like a child sitting way far in the back of class, they can't really hear so much, so we accommodate them by moving them closer. Well, that can be done here by getting a better microphone. And the one that I recommend is the iRig Mic HD. This is a digital mic. If I hover over it, you should be able to see the 9-pin connection. So it plugs in right to the power charging port on your iOS device, gives you the best sound. It also comes with the other style USB that goes to a full-size desktop or laptop computer. So depending on where you're recording your screencasts, this could be very versatile because you could use it for more than just one type of device. So that's about $100. If you don't have the money for that, a little bit less expensive is the analog version of that. So the sound quality is not as high. It still does have a sensitivity control for high, medium, and low, so you can adjust it depending on what kind of room noise environment you have. And then for a couple bucks less, it used to be even more, like 20 bucks less, but they must have changed it, is the entry-level one, which comes in like 7 different colors. And it just has a simple high and low switch on it. So those are some microphone options you could use to plug into your iPad or iPhone even now to record. A wired.
Number 2 is on sale. We just found that out this morning.
Oh, is that why?
Class. Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's only $2 different than number 3. So definitely something good to jump on.
If you want to go with more of the, if you're going to be seen on camera and you don't want to have the big microphone in front of you, this clip-on style lapel mic can be used. And this one's only $21, so that's a pretty good price. The only downside is the batteries. They're button-style batteries. They go dead if you leave them on for more than 3-4 hours. So if you're having students use it, you have to remember to tell them to turn off that switch there so they don't keep killing batteries on you, because I've been there. But that's a good $22 microphone you can use to clip on. On my wish list, I don't own this one yet, but this is more of a desktop device. You don't hold this in your hand. It's got to sit firmly on the desktop. It has a shock mount, so if you bump the table, you don't really hear it. You can plug in earphones and listen while you're talking at the same time to hear the quality that's being recorded. And this one is a digital mic, so it plugs in. I don't think they show the cable here, but it plugs into your iOS device on the digital port, so it's a much higher quality sound than plugging into the analog headphone port. So the cost on that is about $200 for that one. And then for anybody that uses stage mics, like especially for school musicals, you might use the handheld vocal microphones that have the XLR cables, they're called. You can use those mics and cables with your iPhone or iPad by using this device in between it. It kind of acts as the middleman device. So your mic's plug into this, and then this device plugs into the headphone jack of your iOS device. So if anybody has that unique case, you can use mics that are not intended for consumer devices by using this little device in between it. So some stands and mounts, and this is where I have, that's what's in the container there. Let's see which is which here. First is the Anchor tablet stand. That's what I'm using right now to hold this iPad mini up. And as you can see, the cost, it went up. It used to be $10. Now it's $11.99. But it is nice and small and convenient. So it collapses down like that. I can fit it in a pocket or a laptop bag. And then depending on what you're doing with your iPad, if you're doing more like photography stuff and you need it to be upright, it takes the place of having a tripod, assuming you put it on a table that was at the right height. So now it's standing up. If you wanted to have it more for typing purposes, like I was doing before, just adjust the angle so that's a little bit wider, and now it fits in like that. And this works for iPad, iPhone, iPad mini, any size, even Samsung Galaxy tablets, anything at all, any universal tablet or smartphone stand. So that is a low-cost entry point to have it, to be able to hold it nicely while you're working on it. The iShot tripod mount, especially for phys ed people. A lot of times phys ed teacher comes to me and says, you know, we're going out on the tennis court, and I want to have that iPad up there so that I can record me and the students doing something. You know, how can I hold it securely? So using a traditional tripod like you would use, you can get them for 20 bucks even at Walmart. This is an attachment that goes on. As you can see, it clips on the corners like that, so it holds it either in the portrait or the landscape mode. So that is a option that we've used before for holding it on a tripod. I like this one for smaller devices. It won't fit my iPhone 6 Plus. It'll only fit the 6 and smaller. It's an articulating stand, very heavy base there, so that it can be used. Let's see if they show different options here. It has many different angles of flexion, freedom. You could turn it at this point, you could raise and lower there, and it collapses down nice and small. So I've used that one before for doing like video blog posts. If I want to have it sitting on my desk. Yeah, exactly. It's like you'd use your device as the document camera, and this would be the holder for it. Yep, and that's a pretty neat stand. I have one of those, and I've used that. As I said, it's got to be smaller. The 6 Plus here does not fit. It's just a little bit too big. I tried doing like rubber bands around it to hold it on, but it didn't really work too well. So that's that one. And then we have the Just Stand. The guy's name was Justin, and he invented it, and he made a stand, so we call it the Just Stand. And so here's the many different ways it can be used. As you can see, it can go flip it up for a document camera, flip it for a FaceTime camera. I like using it for teleprompter work. When we're doing video projects, it can be up like that. So, and it's height adjustable too with this dimension here. So that's why it's a little bit more expensive. There's more pieces to it. For $100, the Just Stand is a nice option for holding your device. And this one, which I didn't bring with me today, but I have on loan, is a swivel. And a swivel is a robotic camera mount. It's this device here that sits on a tripod or on your desk, and it moves around to follow the person wearing the transmitter, which he's holding there in his hand. So the person teaching either can hold it in their hand like that, or you can wear it on a lanyard, kind of like he's doing there. It has a built-in microphone on it, so it follows you around. In fact, if I go to, which one was it now? It was ISTE. When I was at ISTE, I used that, and any one of these would work. If I show you here. Begin. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ISTE. So the camera's following me because I'm wearing on my lapel there the little transmitter. I tried moving around on purpose to show people how it works. So there was no cameraman. And what works really well for that is if you're the only adult in the room and you don't want to have someone following you with the tripod. It works well especially for teacher observation. And because you're wearing the mic with you, you could be 2 feet away or 20 feet away and you're going to sound the same. You don't have that issue of hearing the noise in the surrounding area because you are wearing the mic with you and the camera pivots around and follows you. That one is, as you can imagine, not too cheap. I believe
the teacher center should have one of those too.
Do they have them?
We all bought one, so.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it comes with an app also you can download for your Android or iOS device, which then stores the video up in the cloud, kind of like your own private YouTube, where then you can analyze that video and share it out if need be. So it's a pretty neat idea. It starts at $400, $399 I believe is the entry point for that. And it's good to know that some of the teacher centers have that to lend out. All right, moving on to now some downward-facing stands. And I said here, useful for document camera mode for projects like this. This is a particular project that I did. I think this is, yeah, this is my triangle training. So I'll pick one at random here and show you what I made. And keep in mind, I'm not a math teacher. Now this type of triangle is related to the equilateral triangle. We can call it its cousin. But this one's a little bit different. You see the word here, isosceles. An isosceles equilateral triangle has only 2 equal angles instead of all of them, and only 2 equal sides instead of all of them. All right, so that's why I said I'm not a math teacher, and I don't pretend to be, but rather than do live demonstrations here, I recorded these in advance. The students had different numbers, so they saw my numbers, but their worksheet had different numbers, and if they could fill it out and get the right answer and show it to me, then I was convinced that they knew how to figure this stuff out. So I used, instead of direct live instruction in front of them, I used these videos that they could watch, rewind, pause, fast forward, to get the information, to be able to then fill out the worksheet, which then led them to be able to get their Lego robot and program it to do the Mission to Mars thing that we did out in the hallway. So to make videos like that, I did not want to have to hold my iPad or my iPhone above the table because my hand's not going to be straight, and I had to use 2 hands to manipulate stuff there. So I needed something that could hold it a foot or so above the tabletop. So I have 2 options here for you. I got the low-cost option, the entry level. Some of us recognize this device. All right, the locker stacking shelf. Sometimes the bookstores even sell them. I think our bookstore at Amherst had them for.
Sells those.
Yeah, and they're $5 usually. This is pretty expensive for $20, but for $5, our bookstore at Amherst had these. So your phone lays on top of it so that the lens of that camera is between the squares, so it fits there. And then it's at the right height, so I could actually be looking at this glass screen while I'm also looking down on the tabletop too. I can see both at the same time. I even used the light too, to shine light down on it, so it made it even easier to see what I was drawing. So that's the low-tech way. And the more high-tech way is what I have here to give out, one of these. This is made in Western New York, or invented in Western New York, from Gary. Gary is a 5th grade teacher and a tech integration specialist in Maryville, the Maryville School District. Anybody from Maryville? I think I heard that before. All right, so he teaches there. He came up with the patent idea for taking a tablet or smartphone device and putting it about a foot above the table. So now when a company like Belkin or these other manufacturers want to make something like that, they have to pay Gary to use his patent. So it's a pretty great thing he came up with many, many years ago when he realized iPads are going to be used in this kind of fashion. So he came up with that. So it's a 3-piece plastic stand. You saw that there it is there, looking straight down at it. And it assembles nicely, fits in a laptop bag. I usually carry that in my wheeled bag thing that I have there. But this works nicely, and that's what I use to make those triangle videos. So we have one to hand out now. He's got them on Amazon. I think the cost is $70 for them. So, and I think he also, at one time he sold directly from here too. I guess if you're going to do a multiple purchase order, he can take custom orders that way. So that's our connection to the Western New York area. I always like to point that out there. Made, I don't know if it's made in America, but it's designed in America, at least I can say. Be careful how I say that. So moving on now, now that we talked about our accessories, is recommended apps for doing screencasting stuff. I've got 3 that I want to look at today. How many have seen Educreations before? All right, has anybody seen Explain Everything? All right, how about Coach's Eye? All right, so everybody's new to all 3, so I won't worry about going too in-depth and making you guys bored with it, because if you haven't seen it, you'll be really impressed about what these things can do. So I've got a couple of workflows here. I don't know if we have time to go through all of them, but I'll try my best. Workflow number 1 is doing some hand recordings like you saw, the one I did with the triangle stuff, when using the Google Drive app. So to simulate that, you're looking now at a live image of my iPad. Let's imagine that we had that boomerang stand set up and we were going to show something in this book. All right, I would launch I could do it one of 2 ways. I could use the general camera app, but I'm going to do it all in one. I'm going to launch the Google Drive app. And in Google Drive, bottom right-hand corner is the red plus circle. I hit that and I say I want to use my camera. And in default now it's in photo mode, so I'm going to slide it to go to video mode. Okay. Now I'm going to pretend that it's in the boomerang stand. Just for purposes of our quick demo, I won't bother taking it out and setting it up. Let's say record. Okay. Hello everybody. Today we're talking about B&H Photo and Video, which sells a lot of camcorders, which is what actually we'll be looking for very shortly in Oakfield for the studio we're setting up. So one thing we should mention is the services they have. It's very good and blah 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 blah. All right, thank you for watching. All right, so pretend that was the real thing.
It's really grainy on here because it's the display coming through. It's much clearer.
And it's dark here. I would have the room lights on if I was doing this the ideal way. So we could play it back, make sure it's what we're looking for. If I was not connected here, you'd hear it playing back. And let's say, yeah, we're happy with it. We'll keep it. We'll say bottom right corner, use video. It then is going to upload it into this Google Drive account, which is actually not mine, but it's my wife's account I'm looking at here. So at the very top, you could see it is uploading that clip. It's 35 megabytes. So depending on how good your Wi-Fi is, it might take a little bit of time here, but it's uploading it, and once that's done, Google will now start to process that to be having it be in like extra high, medium, and low quality. And that's kind of nice, so that depending on how your viewers are watching it, you don't have to worry about making a high quality version and a low quality version. Google handles that for you. They make that video. So assuming I could find where it is, it's probably that one right there that I just did. All right, it's still processing. It takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes to process. But that is now a file inside of Google Drive that I could use, share out like you saw before, like I had in that folder. So that would be a way to use your hands to record something off of a worksheet maybe that you've even used for years and digitize something that you've done in a non-digital way. So that's a quick way to use Google Drive for that. All right, back to our list here. Workflow number 2, digital handwriting on a whiteboard. So many of us have whiteboards in our classrooms. Maybe you're lucky enough to have an interactive whiteboard, which is even better. So let's say I was going to do that, and I wanted an app that simulated me having in my hands a interactive whiteboard that I could record. So for this one, we're going to use Screencast.
This is a great one, especially for the elementary.
Actually, not Screenchop. I don't want to use that one. I want to use Educreations because Screenchop's really not been worked on in a while, and it's sometimes buggy.
Show it.
I don't think I have it on here anymore. I've started to use Educreations in place of Screenchop. So Educreations is a free app with features that they want you to purchase. I'm going to see if I can find the subscription thing here. Where'd they move it to? Upgrade to Pro. All right, so the cost is, if you're going to use the advanced features, which I'm not today, I'll keep it basic, is either $12 a month or $100 a year. For that, you can do a lot more with the app, but I'm not here to recommend it because I still use this app in the free version because stuff that I make is short enough where I don't need to use the advanced features. So for example, I'm going to do like I did this angles one last time. I'll recreate this one here. Now you're not going to hear me talking because I'm hooked up to the projector this way, but imagine that you'd be hearing my voice when I make this. So I'll hit plus. Now some of the controls we have, you can see the different colors up top. So here's our blue, our purple, our orange. If you want to change one of those colors, touch it again, and you can change it by tapping that to a different color. You have the erase command up top, so you can use your finger like an eraser and just erase the board. You can hit erase again, and it'll erase either the whole page or just the ink written on the page. And what else here? We have the plus symbol, which allows us to insert certain things. Now the top three we can do, because we got the free version. The bottom three are advanced features, which would be like inserting a PowerPoint file, inserting a web page, and inserting a map. That's what that third one is. But the three there that we have access to is the words. So I can tap anywhere to add text. And you can change the color of that text. You can add bigger, smaller, and then when it's done, you can move it around on the screen where it needs to be. And you can set up the stage before you record, or you can add those things in as you're recording. So the example I'm doing is I'm going to start with the triangle one. So let me clear the whole page here. And we'll start with a triangle. Now I'm going to set the stage a little bit, so before I even hit the record button, everybody gets to look at something here. And I'm going to call this an EQULAT, equilateral triangle. Done. Move that to there. Now I'm going to hit record. All right, here we go. Well, hello boys and girls. It's Mr. Z here, and today we're looking at the equilateral triangle. If you remember the three sides of the triangle that I'm drawing right now with these blue arrows, they are all the same length. But also, in an equilateral triangle, these angles here, here, and here are also equal. Now if you remember, there is 180 degrees we talked about. That's if you add up all the angles together. So adding up all three gives us 180. Well, my question is, what is just one of them? Let's say this one right here I'm looking at. What is that angle? Well, if we take 180 and we divide by 3 using non-common core regular math, I'm not sure how you guys were taught this, but I was taught to do it this way. Little sarcasm there. And you would know that the answer is 60. So 60 from our review is what we talked about. So that means that's 60, that one's 60, and that one is 60. So equilateral means all the sides and all the angles are equal. And that's all I'm going to show you for right now. Thank you for watching. All right, so I did pause it right there. I then can play it back by going back here and say save it as a, in this case it's good. I know I don't need to redo it, so I'll save the finished video. You give it a title, so I'll call it Triangle Demo. Description is optional. The sharing level can be either published or private. Published means anyone in the world that has the link can get to it. Private would mean you have to log in to get to it. And I'm a fan of not dealing with logins when you don't have to, so as long as there's not sensitive information here, I would mark it as a published one so that anybody could find it. You can tag it with the appropriate subject area, subject, and grade level, and then you hit OK, and it uploads it to the Educreations cloud, which means anybody now in the world could go to educreations.com, search for the word triangle demo, search for the words Rob Zdrojewski, search for my school name, search for any unique identifiers that would get you to that, and you'd be able to watch that video on any device, not just an iOS device, but on a laptop, an iPad, or smartphone, desktop, you name it, anything, anywhere, as long as it can get online. You can also use Educreations on the desktop through educreations.com. You would use your mouse to draw on the screen and do what you did there. Instead of using your finger on an iPad, you draw with your screen, with your mouse on a computer screen. Those of you that have interactive whiteboards can do it with your finger on there because it's a web application. So there's really a lot of great ways, more than just using the iPad, to make stuff, to make content using Educreations. That's why I like it, because it's on both the desktop and the mobile platforms. So that's a quick demo of my triangle example. Next one, we're talking about ruler eighths. You know what, let's skip that. We're going to go to the T-chart one. How are we doing on time here? Because that's kind of the same thing. Oh, okay, we've got about 12 minutes here. So the T-chart one, again using Educreations. This time around, though, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to be drawing. I'm going to be using text. I'm going to go to the web and get a picture. I'm going to take a picture of myself. So I'm going to do a lot of different multimedia things within this app. So here, this is more of an ELA example. Let's say we're looking at a chart that looks like this, and I want to put in nouns. We'll do that in blue. And then we're going to have, again, text. This time, though, we'll switch to red, and we'll say verbs. Done. Move it there. And then adjectives. And we'll make that another color, purple. All right, now the sentence I'm going to go with is at the bottom. I can make sure I get this right so it has all of them in here. Rob was hungry, so Rob was thirsty. So he drank Gatorade. And then period. So that's my sentence down at the bottom here. All right, let me think here. I don't want to make sure I miss anything. All right, here we go. Well, hello, boys and girls. It's Rob Z again. Today we're looking at that sentence I have at the bottom here. Rob was thirsty, so he drank Gatorade. Let's pull out the noun here. A noun would be a person, place, or a thing. So if you remember, this right here is a person. So we're going to put Rob there. And let's also add a picture of Rob. Now I hit the plus button. See what it did in the red bar? Recording is paused while you add content. And I think that's a smart idea, because why make the viewer sit through the process of you adding in a picture? We don't need them to see that. So it automatically pauses it for you. So I'll now launch the camera, the selfie front-facing camera here. And see, ooh, we got like behind us there.
So just make sure to remember where you left off, so it nicely pauses for you.
So we use the photo. It's way too big, so we'll bring it down. You can rotate if need be. You can move it. And you put it to there. All right, time to resume. All right, so my picture is in. That's the noun. Now let's look at the verb. The verb, which I need a color of red here, is going to be the action word. So the action word is let's see. The verb, no, he drank. Oh, I almost got it wrong here. The teacher can't get stuff wrong, right? It doesn't work that way. So drank. That's the past tense of drink. Did I spell that right? It looks kind of funny.
Yeah.
Drank.
Right.
That's right? Okay, it looks kind of funny. So let's find something that shows that we were drinking something. Let's look for a picture. All right, again, I hit plus, it paused, but this time we're going to go grab a picture, and that picture is not on my camera roll. I'm not going to take another live picture, but at the bottom where it says, I'm pointing over here, I got a point there, it says search, the little icon there, search. This would be the equivalent of doing a Google image search. So let's say drink. Now, you got to be careful what comes up here. You never know. Usually it's not a problem. It tends to be a lot of clip art rather than be actual photos of people, drinking beer or something like that might come up. So we'll go with a picture that we can find like that, all right? And then I can put that in. And then lastly,
The picture with the kid drinking.
was there a better picture there?
Yeah.
All right, there was.
You're talking about,
So that's why we have an undo button.
Yeah.
We hit the undo button as many times as we need to. There we go. And now we can add it here, search, and that one right there. There you go.
Oh, that's good.
So we resize it the way we want, put that in. And again, the viewers aren't watching this right now because we've paused it. And now we can resume. Here we go. All right, we have our drink picture in. And lastly now our adjective. An adjective is our description word. And that is where, I made that wrong color before, that's where thirsty, right? That's the adjective. He was thirsty. So let's look for a picture for thirsty. Go here, go here. I'll do the same idea again. Let's see what comes up this time if we type in thirsty. What would be a good adjective for that? Which
Guy
one
in
you
the
like?
purple.
The guy in the
Or in the
purple.
yellow. Or in the
This
yellow,
one here?
Yeah.
And there you go. All right, so we did it, boys and girls. We have our nouns, our verbs, and our adjectives identified. We have pictures in there. We have clip art. So I hope that helps you understand this concept. Thank you for watching. All right, so that is 1 minute and 15 long. Now, I think that could be done by a student in class. It could be done by a kid as homework outside of class. It could be done for fun. But this here is a digital artifact, which now can easily be dumped onto, in my case, Edmodo. That's the place where you would put it. Your classmates could see it and watch it, and I would have them actually, again, I taught middle school, so I don't know if elementary would do this, but I would have them then say, what are 3 things you liked about it? What were 3 things that you didn't like about it? Or 3 things that were confusing? Or 3 things that could have made this a better video? Someone might have said, well, you should have erased it when you did red there and in purple because I was confused by that. So the kids see someone say that and then, okay, I'll redo it and I'll make it better. And so what they're officially going to turn in for a grade is one that's been peer reviewed, maybe multiple times, before they make it official as the one they're submitting for a grade, or the one that the teacher's going to look at. So I think this would be a really cool way to tie together digital screencasting with having a platform like Edmodo, so that's your place to put stuff for everyone to interact and engage with. And so that's our example.
Is that saved in Google Drive, or is that
No.
saved at the...
This is saved at Educreations. It's
Okay.
actually it's not saved yet until I say saved finished video. Then I put in the criteria, the information here, and then it saves it on my account that I'm logged in at educreations.com.
So you can just link that through your Emoto, Google Classroom, whatever you're using.
Correct, yes. And in fact, if I do that here,
And they won't have to like password or do anything to get that to come up.
that's right. Yep, if I open one here, I want to see if I can show you the
But
share
if it's
buttons.
private, you will have to do the password.
Right, right. That's why I never make
If
anything
it's
private.
public, then it can be for anyone.
Are
Right.
you able to save it elsewhere as well?
Not the free version. See, I just hit the export at the upper right there, the share, and notice it says mail, Twitter, Facebook, more. It does say underneath there, save video, but if you choose that, it's going to say, well, you got to buy the subscription if you want to save out to your camera roll. That's what a lot of people want to do. They want to save it to their camera roll. That's why the next step I show you, Explain Everything for $3, will allow you to do that without $3 one-time fee instead of paying $12 every month. So that's a consideration there. But you could email it out. This is how we always did it. We mailed it out. So now it would pull up a email message, and I could say, in fact, I'm going to send it to my account here. Let's see. And send. So within 10 seconds or so, it should send it. We'll go check my email here and reset. And there it is. And it says, click here to view this lesson about angles. I click it, and it will play right here. All right, hello boys and girls. This is Mr. Z, and today we're going to talk about equilateral triangles. And notice you can make it full screen. It plays just nicely that way. And this is publicly available, so all you need is that link right there to do it. And see, I was able to email it out from the iPad using that, where are we here? Right there, using that and going to the mail option. So that's what I had.
Copy and paste that link into your Edmodo.
Exactly, yep.
But again, it's under the public, so if
Right.
you wanted to be private, you'd have to.
In fact, you may be able to go open in. No, see, this app makes you pay for it. But if some of the apps, like Explain Everything, would let you do it, open in, one of those choices then would be Edmodo. And because I have the Edmodo app installed on here. It would pull you over to Edmodo, and it would make a wall post and just have you hit enter. So a lot of the apps talk between apps, and they allow you to do things like that. This one, though, is tricky because they want you to buy the premium version, but the next one I show you, Explain Everything, the $3 app, does have the ability to do that.
3 minutes.
All right, yeah, we're going fast here. So let me see, the most important one here to show you guys before we run out of time then, PowerPoint slides, PDF. All right, let me go into Explain Everything.
Again, you can go back onto the presentation and click any of these for more specific examples. So I know we've been building a couple.
All right, Explain Everything is the one that's really been around the longest. That's why it's the most well-known. This also works on an iPhone. They've made a version for it for the smaller real estate on an iPhone. So you could make screencasts using your phone in addition to your tablet. So I'll hit plus up top to get us a blank canvas. And a lot of controls on this one, a lot of bells and whistles. They even updated the interface because right now I'm looking at it and it looks a little bit cleaner, actually, less things on the page. But this has a timeline of events too. So that if you add some content here, let me add something. See if I'm saying, this is where you can pull stuff in. So I like this because I can pull stuff right from my Google Drive. I don't think I'm still logged in, or am I?
So can you pull like a worksheet that's already in your Google Drive
Yes.
Yes.
right onto and then
Yes,
work on
and
top
then you
of
can
it?
edit.
PDF or PowerPoint.
Yep.
Here, I just pulled in a PDF of something, so now I can talk about this. I'll hit choose. And now I can draw on top of it. I'm going to up the ante a little bit and make myself be in it. So watch this little trick. We hit plus and we hit new video, but we're not actually going to record a video. We're just going to leave the camera on screen. So put it like this, and I can dock myself in the corners, big or small as you want.
To give that personal touch.
That's right. That's that narcissist camera, right, that they call it. So this time around, I'm going to use the laser pointer tool too. Watch this. All right, hello everybody. Today we're looking at the APPR training for lead evaluators of teachers. Now this is going to be held in 4 different dates that you see here. What I really want to point out though is, let's see, I'm going to go here, is there's 2 different locations. All right, for sessions 1 and 2, we're looking at this location at Monroe 2. But then when we get to sessions 3 and 4, they did have to schedule it differently at the Monroe 1 location. So be aware of that so that doesn't get you going to the wrong place in the wrong day. So that's what I wanted to show you there. And lastly, let's talk again about equilateral triangle. Has 30, 33. Okay, teaching lots of random stuff. All right, that's our random review for the day. Thank you for watching. All right, I just wanted to draw something so you had something there to see. All right, now watch this. I can hit the time code, pulls it up here, and we have a nice little timeline of events, if you will. So I can say maybe right before I drew that circle, I don't want to circle that. I'm going to start here and re-record over it. And it'll say, starting here will replace the existing recording. Do you want to do it? I say yes. And now, blah, 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 I talk from this point forward. So I can cut back in and re-record over something if need be. Maybe I sneezed there and I wanted to re-record over it. So here the point being is you have a timeline of events that you can go back on. All right, so we're going to end this session here.